Good morning.
Good morning. Oh my gosh, happy day to you too.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Waking up, that's also a process sometimes.
And
Today
we are
seems to
both
be the day.
sniffly.
We're sniffly, yes, I know. It's no fun having a July cold. It's supposed to be like Christmas in July, not cold season.
Did you see that
So
they're doing a huge drone show too for Christmas in July?
I heard something really crazy about that. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm seeing all these ads from Pinterest. I'm like, seriously? I don't want to make Santa Claus muffins. Leave me
In the middle of
alone.
July.
In July. I'm trying to see what my electric bill is going to be. Come on,
I don't even want to talk about I
It's
just
been
got my
hot.
my
Yes.
electric is nuts. Are you guys good?
Oh, we're good right now
Because you
because
got that
we've
high
got a little rain.
feeling.
Haha, yeah. It's not bad though this week because we're going to get in the low 90s. Yes, for all of those in other places up north. Yes, low 90s. We're like hip hip in the rain here.
Well, Texas has us having Stockholm syndrome because we got 94 and we're thinking, oh my God, it's so nice outside.
Yes, it is. I know. We're just so excited. We're ready to go have picnics again.
Yeah.
Just don't bring the ice cream. Wow, we've got a lot to talk about. I love it.
Yes. So today
And
we are talking about,
oh, we're talking about house clearings, clearing of one's
yes,
own energy, and throw in a blessing or two. Wouldn't that be cool?
that would be
After the house clearing.
amazing.
Oh my gosh. Gets my blood a pumping.
And I've definitely, well, and I've shared this experience with you, but I was never part of the clearing process.
Ah,
So I've
well, I'll
definitely
tell you
watched
this.
you.
Well, sometimes it looks strange. Sometimes we get in a rhythm as I don't know what you would call it, a clearition.
Yes.
We get into the rhythm of it and we start doing exactly, whether it's light language, whether it's a meditation, a verbal expression of something. We tend to kind of get in our groove when we're helping people clear houses, and and even clearing their own energy. You want to start with clearing the energy of our own self first, because
Yes.
if we're clear, we do a better job clearing our house. There's nothing worse than going in and putting forth a lot of money and effort, getting the supplies, getting things going into a house when there's something that's quite not right within our own energy. Because it's really hard to correct what we're already struggling with internally. So, and to correct it externally is my point. So, let's talk about this wonderful way, or many ways, to clear energy. We know that it starts with us, moi, you, me, all of us collectively. So the first thing we want to do is to kind of assess our moods. If we're in a situation where we're like, yeah, I've got a little bit of free time here, let's take an assessment. How am I doing? How am I feeling? What's happening around me? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it indifferent? Do I feel better than yesterday or worse than yesterday? What is what is my feel? What is my climate? Am I under the weather or am I over the weather? I'm doing better than ever. Where am I at? So make a self-assessment of just how do I feel? Anytime you do a clearing, it doesn't have to be this formal presentation. It doesn't have to cost you $500 at the spa, unless you want to go do that and you want to pay for me too. Then I'll go and help you there too. So,
A
but we
co-cleansing.
yes, absolutely. But recognize it doesn't have to be this major, production. So to clear one's energy, there's a few simple techniques to do right from the bat. After you do a self-assessment, we recognize there's a few orders of business to take care of that we can do pretty much in a snap. One is our throat chakra. We recognize that communication flows to and from the throat. We recognize that in our way, our non metaphysical way, and for those that don't understand what we do exactly, we recognize that when we speak, we are creating a communication. We're creating a language, right? We also know that a clear throat chakra helps us to understand language. It helps us to have a process of flow to and from, an ebb and flow of communication. Communication comes to us in many ways, right? How many times have we instinctively known that our bestie's off, or we instinctively known we're going to have one of those days at work because everyone at work is acting odd? What does odd mean? So,
Mm.
what my point is, most of it starts from the throat chakra. Yes, the crown is amazing, the third eye. We'll talk about that. But clearing that, starting right off the bat, would be a little bit of a hum. Gonna clear my energy. Hi ho, off to work we go, right? And anything that gets your throat vibrating. Opens
Mm.
and clears and stimulates the throat chakra. If you want to get some groove on, you go ahead and sing. What you're doing is it's the equivalent, think of it this way, of clearing your palate. If you were in fine dining and you were going to go to the next course, you would probably clear your palate. So what I'm saying to you, by clearing the throat chakra, you're kind of clearing your palate. You're in preparation for change. So the throat chakra is the simple way to begin the clearing of energy in the moment. And we do it instinctively. How many times have you seen someone tapping their foot in a checkout line, and then you just kind of wait and wait, and you hear them going, they start humming, or they start, talking to themselves. They create language, and that's
Mm.
actually clearing. Okay.
Well, and also too, they were just because they were saying the things that clog it would be so simple as, say you are going through McDonald's and and they know that you're missing a sauce, and instead of saying something, you just let it ride. Those
Yes.
little buildups of not being
Heard.
expressive when you wanted to is what shuts it down, right? That's what we learned.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We've all been there, right? We've done that when we're like,
Mhm.
oh, dang, I don't have time to this, or how come they can't get it right? They just read it off to me, and dang, dang, dang. And then the one moment, one day, we got to the drive-through, and we're not picking on McDonald's. We love
Yeah.
you, McDonald's, wherever you are now. I don't see you on the benches anymore. That's the equation. Um, we go there, and the next thing we know, we are in that tyrant mode of where's
Mhm.
my sauce, because we've had such a flux.
It's
uh,
been shut down too long. You cleared it too well that day.
and you get to the point then that you're like, no, I'm thunder, hear my roar, hear me clap.
Lord.
So we do recognize that it starts in simple ways. So I would suggest that's an easy way. You can do that anywhere you are, whether you're in your car, or whether you're not even going to clear your house, you're just clearing you. You got to get ready for a meeting. You got to get ready for a new job, whatever it is. Excuse me. Clearing energy. And I'm going to tell you, what you just saw was a perfect segue. I just coughed, not because I was trying to do it on purpose,
Mm.
but even coughing. We know it. If you've got a cold, why do we cough? It's to clear. It's to
Mhm.
clear. It's to create a vibration into the body, which helps you to release whatever is congesting you, right? So hum. That's a good way to start. Now, for those of you with good knees, which is most of you now instead of me, well, I still jump. Jump. Take a few minutes. Pretend you have an invisible jump rope. Just jump. Become the Energizer Bunny. Stand with your hand on the counter. Jump, jump, jump. I always say jump, jump, jump. It's funny because I teach 3 jumps in my class. I say jump 3 times. And so I found myself really kind of doing everything like check it for 3 times, check it. I'm like, oh my God, I've turned OCD.
No.
But it's funny. I got to share this. I've never told this out to anyone out loud. I read this it's kind of one of those deep articles on demology. And it
Mhm.
said, doing things in sequence of 3 is considered connecting to Satan. And
Oh Lord.
I thought, dang. And all this time I thought I was doing work in the light. Well, look at me go.
Exactly. But also
Did. I
divinities
did.
in a trinity. Like, what are we talking about?
Go figure. I know. I was like, it did make me step back and go, oh, weird.
Yeah, that is well, yeah. I mean, but 369, numbers of creation, like
369. That's
threes.
right. Exactly. So then I would jump, jump, jump. That's resetting the root chakra. See, I'm just doing things without any
Why is that though?
fanciness. Hmm? Well,
What
think
is
of
it
it.
about that motion or
It's a vibration. Your root chakra is your tailbone. Now, I wish you could just reset it by having a nice, good sit down, but it doesn't seem to work that way. Because
okay.
if it did, then every chance, every moment of the day these days, I would be really, really clearing that root chakra. Because I spend most of my day on my butt. So we recognize that by jumping, it stimulates, again, it's energy, inertia. We
Mhm.
recognize it gets the blood pumping. It gets hopefully the blood pressure not elevated, but, in a nice balance. It is a form of clearing. And it's to start with the tailbone, the foundation. Your foundation is your tailbone. Okay. And it's so interesting because often I actually had a friend who broke her tailbone, and heaven forbid, this was years ago, and it was really funny. It was before I really got into what I do for my studies with you all, and it really was interesting because she actually had a really weird personality after that. And
Oh
I thought, oh
no.
gosh, she did. She became extremely emotional, extremely aggressive, and just became very depressed from everything. And there's not, you can't wrap it up in a band aid, right? So
Mm-mm.
she was pretty much walking around with a donut and everything else for a long time. And it changed her personality. So we do realize there must be something to the root chakra. And I know being laid up is not something to sing about, but we do recognize that the root chakra is a very important process in clearing energy. It's your foundation. Kind of like if it's a storm outside, you got a solid foundation, your house isn't going to cave in. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the analogy of the three little pigs, right?
Not three
Sturdy
of
the
them,
house,
evidently.
right? Exactly, three of them. Oh, I love that. That was so good. I love the way you think. And yes, for all you listeners out there, I'm trying to keep my boxes behind my back because my table's messy. Stephen is making a wonderful move to Minnesota for 2 months, and I've got all his creations behind
No,
me.
no.
So I'm just kind of like, so if I start doing that, I'm just covering things up. So
You
we've
start
got it down.
levitating.
Yeah, like levitating. Yeah, don't worry about me. I'm fine. So we recognize in clearing our energy, there's very simple things you can do. You can do those things all the way to the car, right? If you've got to go to work and you're feeling ungrounded, do this. It's clearing your energy. It's grounding. You want to get more fancy with it, then you can take magnesium baths, magnesium soaks, relax the muscles. You can take Epsom salt baths, relaxing the body, clearing the energy. We recognize that those are very powerful tools. There's now scrubs, Epsom salt scrubs for showers. Water is very healing, and water is also very clearing. That's why we can be in a bad mood and go take a shower or bath, and all of a sudden we feel better. It's not only because it clears the body, it clears the mind and the soul. It just makes us more relaxed. If you do Epsom salt baths to clear your energy, please don't do them more than 3 times a week. 3 times a week might be too much for you, especially if you've got conditions that affect the skin, because it can be very drying.
Mm-hmm.
We know that salt is used as it's kind of like to slough off dead skin. Well, after a while, you create dry skin because it
Mm-hmm.
takes moisture. So that's just a heads up on that. But that is another way. You can douse yourself with, go into your kitchen and make yourself take a couple lemons, throw them in a pot of water, put it on the back burner, throw in a clove or two and some cinnamon, and clear your energy by scent. Clears your house too. But it also helps you to kind of ground. It helps you to clear. Um, Last night I had a class on clearing. It was a wonderful class, a lot of fun. Um, it was really cool because one of the techniques we'll talk about is simply clapping. So as I finished my class, I had them all clear their energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt so good. I don't know how they felt, but we'll talk about clapping too. It works. But my point on this is letting the tools that you already have help you to clear, by the smell. You can even take lemon if you're really stressed and you're struggling with things. You could take a little lemon and you can literally put it behind your ear. You can put it underneath your nose. Lemon is a very clearing agent in energy. And if you have something or you have a coworker that you're having struggles with, you can go so far as to help not clear them, but clear a path around you. So there's very simple techniques that you can implement. We could
I'm
get
gonna.
really into deep
I'm telling
ones.
everybody. Terry said, if you don't like somebody, just throw a lemon at them.
Thank you. Yes, throw two.
Just
They're
peck them.
cheap. Grab two. Yeah, take a pair.
You need some clearing.
Two for the price of one. Heck, two people instead of one.
Well, just out of curiosity, real fast, because we do recognize that certain things just have this principle. This.
Yes.
So, lemon, salt. Is there something that we know why those things have that property, or is that just the nature of the universe, basically?
And that's a good question. I'm sure we could delve deeper into what are the properties of some of the things, the cloves, the rosemaries, the cinnamons, the lemons that I adore. We could go into the properties. We know for lemon, in fact, it's a very alkaline fruit. It's
Mm.
acidic to the teeth, so you don't want to sit there and chomp on a lemon. And if you do, let me know. I want to take a picture because it doesn't usually happen. Unless you have a Myers lemon, and they're sweeter and they're really good too. But typically it's an alkaline fruit. And so we know more alkaline in the body, sometimes a balance is better, obviously, than the other direction. Acidity in the body can create inflammation and other problems, which when you don't feel well, you're more apt to have issues.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I like it. It's fresh. It's also clearing. People before it was recognized as a clearing agent, people would use it for clarity. Okay, the
Mm.
smell of a lemon helps you to concentrate. That's why
Mm.
putting citrus, grapefruits, oranges, lemons in a diffuser oil as a diffuser oil can help you to kind of be more on top of your game. Can
Mm-hmm.
help amplify energy, good energy. So there's a lot of different things, components. Some of it is, again, we see coming from what we would refer to as the wise old tales. I mean, how many times have you watched a vampire movie where everyone had garlic around themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, it was to ward off something, right? But it was
Mm-hmm.
also to help clear them and protect them from it. So it was another way of clearing.
Well, and too, interesting point, because when we have when we don't feel what, I mean, there are remedies, like it makes sense if garlic heals the body, has
Yes.
healing property, or lemon, like lemon water. People always say if you're trying to lose weight, lemon water is good for your
Mhm.
system, whatever. So it makes
Right.
sense that because we understand the physical mirrors the metaphysical, mirrors the spiritual. So it makes sense that
Absolutely.
if it's good for the body, our soul bearing vessel, it would
Right.
also be good. It would, there's no way it would be bad energetically and good for your body. That makes
No.
sense. That checks
It
out to me,
makes
at least.
and that's
Logically.
exactly right. Well, and that's exactly right. That sounds perfect, Sterling. That makes perfect sense. So again, if it's something that you naturally gravitate to also, it's probably something very helpful. So in other words, if you were to have if you smell a lemon and you're like you're taken back by it, and you're like, no way, then obviously you're already working against each other. So I wouldn't incorporate that into your daily, ritual of healing
You're
or
allergic.
clearing. Yeah, exactly. You'll have all sorts of other stuff.
Yeah.
So to make it as simple as possible, to clear your energy could be very few steps. It could be very simple. Turn on the radio on the way to work if you're in the car. Use a little bit of inertia, tap out a song. Create some energy. Um, Use techniques. Instead of road rage, clear your throat instead of using that as word vomit. Or hand gestures. Called word vomit or hand
She
gestures.
said move the body, okay? It just happened to
Got
look like
it.
this.
It looks like you're waving
Yeah, but with one finger.
with one finger because you're saving energy, right?
Yeah.
And you got to drive too, right?
Listen, we're gonna figure it out.
We're going to figure it out. And again, we're not asking you to do anything that you're going to have to take a day off from work for and write down and figure out. Clear your energy is going to make you feel better. You're going to do a few of these things and you're going to go, I feel better when I fill in the blank. If it makes you feel better when you fill in the blank and it's not illegal or something you should be doing anyway, then you're probably onto a technique that's about clearing your energy. Simplify it. You don't need, 400 copper bracelets. You don't need to go extreme. Yes, you can have,
Pew
you
pew,
can
shots
go.
fired.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Well,
You
you do
know,
see sometimes gauntlets of stones and
oh
and
my
stuff, and
gosh.
you do realize those are competing vibrations. So really, you just have chaos in both arms.
Right. Exactly. Your
I've
collision
been talking
waiting to
about that a little
happen.
bit more, because I
And,
do think that's important.
and I feel like, was it Jeff Foxworthy? Something like that. You're wearing too much copper on your wrist when people are starting to follow you in the dark, trying to see what you got for them.
You
For all
just
those
gotta
copper
be
thieves out there, you do not have my phone number.
no. Would have
So
mercy.
I know. It's like, oh my gosh. We'll keep it light, keep it fun, right, folks? So really, Sterling, what else is there about clearing energy on a person, on a body? What am I not? I'm keeping it simple. I mean, there's
Oh,
so
of
many,
course. Well,
we do a lot of
I've talked
stuff.
about this, but this is probably the same as clearing, but also I think a protective measure.
Hmm.
But a lot of I use a lot of visualization because it just
Yep.
makes sense in my brain. And
Yep.
so
Makes
there
sense.
would be something like, honest, this is what I would do before I would come to an investigation with you guys, because I'm a scaredy cat. But I would sort of envision a bubble around myself, and I would
Good.
take the due process of filling it up with the color that I perceive is my strongest.
I love
And so
it.
that process, then I know, okay, it's the similar, I would say it's very similar to closing your eyes for 5 minutes and,
Hmm.
talking to your guides for protection. It's all kind of this intention thing, but it does also allow
Exactly.
you, and it does exercise your own domain over your energy, which is more than, I think that's the baseline. You can drench yourself in lemon water. You can have, sandalwood burning out of every, orifice. But I think the reality also is, who are we giving the power to, the sandalwood? Or is that being a tool that we are using to continue to have dominion over our own energy? Because I think
I
that's
love it.
important.
It's very important, and I love that. And you came right in on exact measure of connection here, because what you're saying is, because we are those practicing spirituality, that there are tools already embedded in what we learn, what we're told. Where are your mantras? Where are your protective energies? What is the color that soothes energy? What are the things that we have learned through our work, our efforts, that are there always to protect us? And I love that, Sterling. You're right. Invoking the help of your team. Hey, I need you to help me clear. Hey, I am clear. I am love. I am clear. Oh my God, all the affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. You can put on all of that gear, and it helps you to, what rhymes, gear and clear.
Yes.
Get your gear and hope you clear. I'm a new book here.
And
No,
we're coming near you. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, there we go. Somebody's got to
Anybody
be
want a
writing this
peanut?
down.
No.
Someone's writing it down going, yep, keep them
They're like,
weird.
they've
That's right.
lost their mind, and I'm
Keep
fine
them
with
weird.
it.
Misty, did you pick up your sweater? Because their sweater is no longer in my
Oh,
office.
yes, she did. So real quick, she texted me, and she said, because she's an avid follower of our podcast,
Oh, I
which I love
love
her
it.
for it,
She's
Mindy.
wonderful.
But she texted me. She said, "Well, I guess I know where my sweater is now." And I couldn't remember how badly we roasted the sweater, but I do remember that we were making comments about it. And
We're
all I could
having
think
fun.
was, I was like, I couldn't tell through the text if she was offended or not. I was like, I just said,
No.
we like, ha ha ha, like hopefully she knows we're just messing around.
Oh, I bet she does.
But she
It's
did
so
grab
funny.
it.
Good. Because it disappeared, and I'm like, whoa, the sweater god
Talk
came.
about clearing.
I know, cleared my office. You know what was so funny too? Because I know it's Mindy, but I have someone about her body shape that's Misty, and
Hmm.
and again, and so Mindy is Misty and Misty is Mindy. We just share names. So
Yes.
she looks at me. She goes, "Do you know my name?" Last time I saw her, I'm like, I
Well,
do,
that's
I
when you just
really
hit her with
do."
Aaron.
Yeah. Aaron, you
Michelle.
know, I'll tell you, sometimes you just have to go in and clear. I'm going to tell you real quick. This is a little freaky thing. You ready for a freaky thing?
Yes, always,
Oh,
I
you
think.
love a
Ooh,
freaky thing.
you know how I
Because
am.
well, what's really great is it's kind of a segue into what we do, right? So, we go from, clearing the body to clearing your space. And so I've got to tell you something that was very intriguing to me. And I won't add much comment to it, but
I'm so
so
in.
again, we spend a lot of time working with others. We spend a lot of time, double dipping in energy. Double
Yeah.
dipping in, energy is sometimes good and bad and indifferent. I do my best to do a lot of work in my office, a lot of readings in my office. I try to keep it clear. I clear it with not only vibrational energy, spiritual connections, but, a little bit of Lysol, a little bit of handy wipe. So I make my best situation of keeping my office nice and clear most of the time. Well, I happened to have borrowed a tablecloth because I thought, what the heck? Let's see what my office that I spend most of my life in. How cool would it be if I put a tablecloth on this table? Would it work? Would it be good? Well, let's check it out. We could do that. So I had it on there for a few days, right? Nothing different, a standard fare of people. No one with, no cyclops, no, demon worshiper that I'm aware of. So I was pretty clear, I thought. Okay. But I've been very busy, and so sometimes it gets away from me to clearing ground and to bring in energy. So I actually finished for my day's worth of work, and I went to my class that I had to teach, and I finished with my class. And when I finished with my class, no one else was around at all. And I went back to my office and opened my door. And when I opened my door, the tablecloth was on the floor. Oh well. But it was so intriguing because my Kleenex box was over to the far right of my corner. It was like it
Nope.
was warding my office.
Nope.
One corner of my office, my clock. I had a clock, a little small clock about this big.
Yeah.
They should have all fallen equally because they were all in the same little bundle. They should have fallen equally on top of the thing. If you've ever practiced that little thing, it all falls down. The clock was behind my door. My chapstick and my mints were in the corners of the other corners. Ooh.
So everything just went like this.
It imploded. So,
What is going? Or someone was in your office.
Well, no one was there.
Right. Oh my God.
So again, I could have thought, well, what I said was, well, that's strange. That's the first thing out of my mouth was, well, that's strange. And so I started picking up my things. And I took the tablecloth, folded it up, and didn't use it again. Put it away.
She said, I let it on fire. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, let it on fire. No,
so that's gone.
It took me over, and I sat in my room, and I put it over my head, and I just stayed there. No.
You're not hiding boxes. You're hiding an homage to the tablecloth behind you.
Exactly. And so as I picked up the tablecloth and I shook it away from me, of course. If there's something on it, you got to go away, right? And I said, well, that didn't work, did it? And I said, whatever that was, it's time for you to move on. And I will clear you next. So you've got 3 seconds to decide if you want to try this again or if you want to leave. And so I cleared the room and I felt much better. But how interesting. I do this for a living. And every now and again, we get sideswiped, basically. Because that would have not naturally happened.
No, I agree.
Things would not have fallen that way. So that's a perfect indication that I needed to clear, right? Needed to clear something, and which I did effectively, I believe. So it doesn't mean we have to wait for things to start, zipping around the room and moving around, and I'll wait till the poltergeist comes in and moves in. We know that clearing our energy, clearing our space is something we can do. We can do it every week. We can do it every month. We can do it whenever we really feel a need to thoroughly do it. Just like when we clean our house, we don't do spring house cleaning every day, but we might do it twice a year.
And the buildup, we notice suddenly you do see the dirt on the baseboards. You do see the dirt in the windowsill. So it's not like it's not there. So the deep clearing, that's such an interesting point. I've never thought about it that way, but that's perfect.
It's the same analogy. It really is. And, and we can take it a step further. And there's a lot of people that'll disagree with this because I know from experience, just from talking to people, when I say try to keep it tidy, I can tell those that don't because they always look the other direction. But when you keep things tidy, what you're doing is you're creating an energy exchange. And you're saying, this is mine, and this is mine. Now, that sounds like, oh, gosh, that's a greedy attitude. But if you have it and it's yours, it is. Okay.
Well, and it's also the vibration of organization.
Exactly.
Which will be repellent spiritually to the concepts of chaos. They won't like it.
Oh, bingo. That's right. And, you can get into a debate, and I did actually for a moment last night with someone who said, well, listen, I have a lot of things in my house that I refuse to get rid of. I said, that's perfectly fine, as long as you know where everything is.
You have control over it.
And you take an opportunity in those rooms that you don't use because you don't want to heat up, 6 bedrooms when there's just you and your other half. Well, you still need to go in those rooms. Yes, you're probably letting all the cold air out, but you're still needing to go in those rooms because unattended rooms become hotbeds, hot spot for stale energy.
Yes.
And stale energy, it's a hotbed.
You literally blew my mind a couple years ago because you were talking about that and you were saying these big homes, right? In DFW, we've got these mega mansions, right? And so it was a new thought form to me because they were obviously kept neat, right? There's nothing really going on. And you said it did not matter the level of cleanliness, so to speak. It's that it has been left to dominion, not of the owner. And you also said, which I thought this was so fascinating and so good. You said if you have large property, that it's important to have view of your property. Like there shouldn't be a huge area of it that you can't see or you don't have visual understanding that it's yours, right? and that you should walk the property line. Otherwise,
Yes.
you
Yes.
can lose dominion of your own property on a spiritual level. Which,
That's exactly right. And you know, it kind of, if you look at it from the standpoint of really of all life's experiences, if you're used to going to a place and you stop going there for 2 years, say for instance, then it loses its value, it loses its meaning to you, or it at least changes and evolves into something different. And so we recognize that when you're setting that dominion of space, you want to, again, you want to be kind and loving about it, but you have to be direct about it. And in my simple practice is open the door, and this is what I say, and I know it sounds crazy, but it's what works for me. When I am clearing my place, and there are times that, you know, that my other bedroom door doesn't get open for days, right? Unless I open it. I open the door and I say, "Good morning, good afternoon. This is Terry Groom, and this is my room."
I love that.
And so what I'm doing is, again, we say our name, we create dominion. Our name is authority,
Mm,
okay, over our vessel, right? Not over people, but energy.
that's fascinating.
And I do say good morning. I'm a cordial person. I'm not going in there for a fight, right? Because that's a whole nother level. I don't want to go in and challenge, because there might someday be something that challenges me back, right?
Oh,
So, good morning, good afternoon. This is Siri Groom. This is my room. And if I've got extra time, I may say, if you are here, you may exit now.
dang.
So what I'm creating is
I
I'm
got
creating
nervous.
dominion. Yeah. Well, because you don't know what, you know, spirit's like, oh, what just happened here? They're not supposed to be in here. I thought this room was empty.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine hotel rooms too, right? Because not all the hotels were busy during the pandemic, were they? Can you imagine going to some of those rooms afterwards? Yes. Anyone who's ever heard of squatter, do you know what the term squatter is,
Of
right? We
course.
recognize if you have a home, sometimes if you leave the home, you abandon the home, or you move away from the home and you come back in the next spring to see if it's still standing upright, there might be a squatter living in it, right? The squatter took dominion. And in a lot of states, the squatter has more rights than you do because it
Isn't
took
that nuts?
dominion and it lives there. Not it, but the individual lives there. So we don't want you to have spiritual squatters, right?
And a good analogy, because the squatters aren't villains, not
No.
always. You know, it's not like they might just be normal, nice people who decided that they want that space. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
it's not like demons are on the prowl just trying to stay in your spare room. Sometimes it's just energy that is drawn to its vacancy. It's like, oh, they may not even be aware that it's a home, but they see, oh, nobody's there. I can that then can be my space.
Yep. And that's exactly it. And you know, every now and again, you need to open the blinds in those rooms too. I know
Mm.
people don't like to do that because it lets the heat in or lets the cold in or whatever it may be. But you know, if you've got, and again, we're stretching this, little folks, but to get a point across, you know, if we think the boogeyman lives in the closet and your room has the shades shut all the time and no one is ever in it, you've created a pretty large closet, haven't you?
Mm.
So it's just taking dominion over property that's yours. And I will tell you, and you know, and I'm not ashamed to say this. Sometimes it sounds foolish, but it really does work. You know, for me, when I come into, I work at this beautiful center, and when I come in the door, I say, "Good morning," or "Good afternoon." Usually it's morning. "Good morning, beautiful center. I love you. I'm back again." Now, does that mean that I have to agree with, or with, you know, with everything and with, you know, every piece of energy or every nuance of space? No. What it's saying is, I am here. It's also letting energy know, if you don't want to deal with me, now's your time to go away.
1,000,000%. Because if there are other things in that center that are much more amiable to those energies, they can just take that shift. Like, they just need to
Yes.
be there when they're, you know, yeah, 100%.
And I do the same when I enter my spot. You know, I have an office and I open up my office. "Good morning, beautiful office. I'm here now." So what I'm
Only you
saying,
could make that feel both inviting and a threat.
well, and I intend to. That's right.
Yes, I feel
Exactly.
it.
And when I leave, what does it sound like? "Good night, beautiful office." And sometimes I throw in, "Take care of yourself till tomorrow morning." Or sometimes I say, "Thank you for your help today."
Oh,
So what I'm doing is I'm creating an energetic kind of bond, right?
Relationship with it.
Relationship. So my office should by now know that it's got to protect me. It's got to be there for me. I expect something out of this room. It
Mm.
doesn't always work. Sometimes, vibrations, negative stuff comes through. But I will tell you the tablecloth may have been nothing more than, hey, getting your attention. Fix it up here. Something's going on.
Wow.
You see?
Oh, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, that's fascinating because it is a symbolism that maybe that was not, I mean, that's not really a normal thing to have happen.
No. No.
Ooh, that's so, and then you did the work, so now that's kind of, wow, it kind of
Yeah.
told on itself.
It did kind of tell on itself. And so we see that if we take and we have authority over our space, we're more apt not to have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then we take the space and we go home, right? Because eventually we land somewhere, right, where there's a bed.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we get some sleep. So then we take authority over our house. And I will tell you this, and this will freak you out for a minute. Not you, Sterling, because you're an ace at this. But if you
Maybe.
walk into your house and you say, "Good evening, my beautiful house, I've returned," you might hear, "Hello."
Nope. I will die. Oh, goodness. But from the house.
From the house or from the
Okay.
energy. I have heard "Hello, Terry" more times than you could ever imagine.
No, Lord have mercy.
But again, we carry energy with us all the time too, right? And so when we go in, and if I heard that, I mean, really, as long as they're not throwing pots and pans at my head and I don't feel threatened,
No, that makes total sense.
but I clear energy that may make me uncomfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have energy. I can tell you there are a ton of people that are like, well, I'm not clearing my mother out of my house. I'm glad she's there. She's been dead for 30 years, but she's still hanging out. And that's fine too. Go for it. Have fun. Keep the room for her. But you need to go in there and dust it every now and again, just in case mom gets a visitor. Do you see?
Exactly.
So clearing energy of your house. Now there's a million different ways. And we could stay here until heck Wednesday,
I
Thursday, Friday.
know. There's so many things.
So we're gonna stick with some basics. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay. And if I talk too much, Sterling, you tell me, be quiet.
And that will never happen.
You could say, this is my podcast. Good afternoon.
It's
This is
not.
my podcast.
Good afternoon. Right, exactly. Suddenly all of our technology shuts down.
Yeah, let's not do that.
They're like, whose podcast?
Yeah, exactly. Spirit speaks.
Oh man, it keeps you humble too.
It keeps you humble. That's the way it's supposed to be. You can actually hear more, see more, get more, be more when you keep it real. You keep it humble. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a good way of keeping life. So we
Well, and
want
that's a
to.
good point. Real quick, just that made me think, we have to keep the energy humble because there's rules here. It keeps us humble because whether you believe in any of this or not, we are cohabitating this reality. And there
We
are
are.
aspects of it that you cannot see. So if you want to say it's not real, that doesn't mean you're not still cohabitating.
Right. That's
It's not
exactly
like
right.
your belief doesn't really factor into whether or not your room suddenly feels weird and you stop going in there for some unknown reason.
Right. That's exactly right. So take dominion over your property, your home. And what I expressed last night to people was you own the space that you're paying for. Now you may not literally own it in paperwork. When you rent, you don't own, and when you have a mortgage, you don't own either. And if you doubt that, try not paying it for 6 months. And then you'll be
God.
living in a tent in the front yard. So we recognize that we have to take ownership even of property that's not theoretically ours.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we are there, it is our responsibility to our vessel to provide adequate care for the weaker side of us, which is the physical, expirational, dated.
It's
thing.
weird you say that is the weaker form of us because that's fascinating and true, but you would not think so. Because we
No.
always say, well, we have physical form in the world. We do have more dominance, so to speak. But that's not really true.
Well, one thing we can guarantee is that
Ooh.
there's an expiration date right?
On the
And
body,
so
but
we're
not the
only
soul.
as good as that. And the problem is the date can change and it can keep changing based on
Oh,
free will. So, so it has to be much more vulnerable than the spirit. The spirit is again the eternal force. So yes, you've got to take and make it yours. When you go into that home, it's yours. Whether you decide to just go in there and just let it all happen, or become the victim to your own demise of not doing anything, not providing any kind of clearing. I'd said something last night that got everyone's attention. I said, when you walk in your house, leave the light off for a minute. And I said, don't trip over the cat. Don't trip over your shoes that you forgot to leave by the door and left by the door. But go in for a minute. Get used to the property you live in. If you're afraid to be in there in the dark, hello. You see?
dang. Oh,
Create a dominion, create an environment that you are proud and happy with. Now, I know we're taught if you were to go to any safety advisor meeting, they'd say, come into the door and turn on the light switch. Make sure everything's very well lit as you look around to make sure there's no perpetrator or intruder there. Oh, yeah, that's true. However, if you really want to get cozy with your place, go sit in the dark. Come into your house, say, good evening, my beautiful place. I'm back home. And after a while, you don't have to say Terry Groom, and when you're coming home, I don't. Sometimes I just go, hello, happy evening, because I want my energy to fill the room, because I don't want anything else to intrude, even if I'm living with someone. And we talked about that in our class about, what if there's 3 roommates with you? Well, yeah, you've got 3 times more work, 4 times more work, because you have to compensate for that. And you still take ownership. This is still your environment. If you're paying for it and you rest your head and you have a bed or a floor wherever you're sleeping, you're there. You take dominion. If they don't take dominion, then you're just kind of more, your essence is more there than theirs, and that's not. It is what it is. But don't be shy. I heard that too. Well, I have a roommate who's really negative. Okay, is this situational? Is this roommate always negative? Yes. Why are you roommates? Number one. What is it in this person that draws you to this person that you're telling me is very negative? Why are you putting your most vulnerable state of being, which is, your restful side, when you go to bed, when you go to sleep, why are you putting that in jeopardy with someone who you already know you don't want to be around? So again, situational sometimes, you can't just automatically go, you're right, I'm moving out tomorrow. But you have to recognize that whom you're with can also ramp up energy. So you have to just take it as your responsibility for you to provide clearing. Now, if your roommate is allergic to half the stuff that clears, well, then you've got to get real crafty and creative. Now, Sterling, I'm sorry, you were going to say something. I just ran right over you.
No. Well, just, as somebody who more recently, I would say, has been in the circumstance where when I was really, really poor about 10 years ago, I was renting rooms. Or I even had like a roommate up in Uptown, but we never saw each other. And so I think, and I hear this a lot in the work that we do. Oh, I have to clear all the time because my husband, I got to clear all the time because my roommate. But here's the reality. There is really only so much you can do, and to extend yourself to think that you have the power to go and not only cleanse your own space, but somebody else's, or to cleanse their energy, or to try and sage away their negativity. I feel that that's sometimes a little bit of a misguided notion, because the reality is they're just going to continue to generate that.
Sure they
And
are.
now
Yep.
you are, and whether they understand or believe that what you're doing is real, their energy is going to recognize that you're actively trying to cast it out, and it will
Yes.
resist. It will wish to say.
Well,
So then suddenly maybe you're sitting in your room thinking, I'm just lighting the sandalwood.
so I
When you're
like
in the
it. Like
hood, it's sandalwood.
sandalwood.
No,
Sandalwood.
sandalwood. And you're burning it, and you're thinking, I want this to extend into the other room and into their bedroom. And then before you know it, you're having actively more conflicts with your roommate than you ever did before.
Yes.
Recognize that there is a return of that energy. And
Yes.
so I always think
There is.
you have your own dominion. If you have a roommate, you have a room, right? And it's yours. That is what you should be laying dominion on. And I think it would be inviting more, drama maybe than not to try and expect that that would extend across the whole apartment because the reality is half that's not yours anyway.
Well, yes, but I'm going to add a little bit. This is the
But
first
yes,
time you and I
please.
have disagreed. I love
Oh, no, no,
this.
no. I'm so open.
Monumental.
I acquiesce to your greater knowledge
Got
1,000,000%.
to
So
get
help
really
me
comfortable on
understand.
this one. There we go. Very
Yes.
good. So we recognize that, yes, and I agree, when you have a shared facility, you have a shared environment, you cannot take full authority over it. But what we also recognize is that if you don't take authority over it, it doesn't get authority taken. So, say for
Mm,
instance, the kitchen is a shared community kitchen between you, your roommates, or maybe you're at college and that's that's the big kitchen area. Um, you still, at some point, someone needs to set the intentions of that kitchen so the kitchen doesn't become the squatters area, doesn't become
mm,
the energy that's
mhm.
all about whomever comes in the front door. We did have that episode last night. We had someone who has a roommate who brings over a lot of men, and a lot of the men are temporary, right? They're just for a season or a reason. We'll call it nice like that.
I love you.
That's a way to say it. I
A very
like that.
quick season.
Quick season. Oh my heavens. Okay. Get the visual out. Woo, that's the wrong way.
Right.
There we go. No. So what we recognize is, yes, our dominion is our bedroom. But if someone is not taking authority over the other rooms, we can set the simple intention of this room is also sacred
Mm,
in this unit.
mhm,
Whether it's a family unit or a roommate that, from school or whatever, or just someone who just answered the ad, we recognize that someone has to take authority over energy. And so, yes, if you were in the kitchen and you were doing the voodoo dance, your roommate could probably say, "What the are you up to?" and
mhm,
disagree with your energy practices, right? But if you are setting the intention just to keep things light, you still
mhm,
have the authority to do so.
mhm,
Put a pot on the back burner on the stove and put some, unless they're allergic to them where you are, put some lemons, throw in some rosemary, get some, maybe not all in the same pot. We want to be able to like enjoy it, or put up some cloves and some oranges. And if they're like, "What does that smell?" Say, "Oh, it's cider."
mhm,
Whatever you want to do, use it to clear the energy.
mhm.
We it was funny because we talked about it last night, and I helped. Hopefully, I'm going to find out soon enough. This woman, she was telling me, my roommate keeps bringing over all these guys, and I'm like, whoa, oh, more to choose from. It's better than online dating for her, right? She could just kind of peek through the door and go,
Right. Not him.
but woo, we're going somewhere out there. But what I told her to do is go ahead and ward off her room. So the door of her room was sacred. So from the door in, that was her ground. There was nothing anyone could do as far as they were not allowed in the room. They would feel uncomfortable. She set an intention that anyone other than someone she invited into her bedroom
Mhm,
would feel very ill at ease and
mhm.
would not cross the threshold. And that was what her intentions were. It's what we were talking about. And I said, let's go a little step further. I said, even though in this instance, you're really not going to be able to get the full cooperation of your roommate, because your roommate, if this roommate is having people come over and all of a sudden, there's a new man on the sofa every night, you're crossing boundaries anyway, right? When you
Mhm,
think that's a little bit crossing boundaries. I said, so let's get creative. Let's put something at the front door of this apartment or the house or the condo, wherever it is, that simply states anyone with ill intention or that has not a high vibration, a reasonably high, not everybody's a metaphysical study,
yeah.
student, um, should feel that this is not the place for them.
Mhm.
So what she did was basically she said, "Hey, and basically anyone who's creepy can't come in." Well, she doesn't really have the authority, but she's not calling the boyfriends creepy, is she? She's just
No.
simply saying anything harmful or creepy to a normal standard of living doesn't cross the threshold. So she's going to see how that works.
Well, I have a curiosity about that though, in
Mhm.
from I guess the you know where does the free will aspect, because if it is co-owned, but there's one partner who is just being is either maybe metaphysically unaware, doesn't believe, whatever, is there ever a part where that kind of infringes in the co-shared, like, does that make sense? Like, would you
Yeah.
have to disclose that to the other person so that they recognize, hey, because of my discomfort and the way that things are going, like, how much of that has to be vocalized for
Well,
it to
and
be?
that's a really good question. It's not, there's an expression called do no harm. You're not really
Mhm.
causing any harm. You're actually causing
True.
quite the opposite.
Okay, I thank you. That
You
makes total
see?
sense. Yep, perfect. Because that,
And
yeah, do no harm. You're not really infringing anything.
no, no. And
You're
if her
protecting a
if her
space.
latest and greatest boyfriend won't come through the threshold because it feels uncomfortable there, okay, well, go meet him in the parking lot. Do your thing where
That's yeah.
your
Okay,
free
that makes
will
sense.
doesn't always have to be absolute, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it could have different twists and turns. And if that person doesn't feel comfortable there, then you have free will. You can decide that roommate's not for you, right?
Correct. Very true.
So there's a lot of little techniques to do. One that I really cherish is, a lot of people have, this person, especially, I mean, now all our pets have allergies now. I mean, I don't know if they used to before. I don't know. I've never seen a
Yeah.
box of Kleenex in the wild. I don't know what happened before.
Just
But
little
I
red
do,
eyes.
yeah, I know everybody's now got, all these human conditions in our pets, and we love our pets. I mean, oh my God, I talk to my pets probably more than I talk to my husband sometimes. But don't listen today. No, just kidding.
Right.
But we recognize that someone's going to have an allergic response to this or that or this. So you do owe your roommate, your other living companions, hey, I'm going to make a pot. It's just kind of some people call it an herb pot, some people call it an energy pot, whatever you want to call it. You can call it cider, whatever you want, right? I'm going to put this on the stove. It's going to have cloves. It's going to have some cinnamon. It's going to have whatever. Or I'm going to put a pot and it's going to have some lemon. It's going to have a little bit of, you can put with lemon. You can put the rosemary and the thyme, the other spices. Those are also clearing energies, and this is what it's going to be like. So that you're still sharing what it is you're doing, but it isn't, you're not infringing on anyone's real free will if you're not really telling them all of why you feel about it, all
Right.
of what you
That's
feel
fair.
about it.
Yeah.
Okay. To them, it's just a pot of water with a bunch of stuff in it. To you, it's, how you're going to survive the next 7 days in clearing the energy.
Or the next
And
7 months of your lease.
exactly. So that's an easy way. You can get a diffuser. If you get a diffuser, make sure you're very cognizant of what you put in it. Eucalyptus is extremely connective. It's very protective. It's really good for you, but it's poisonous to cats.
Yeah, I knew there was something there. And there's something for dogs too. I
You
can't
know,
remember
and
what it
I
is.
know eucalyptus is a little bit with dogs as well. Now I know that some of the myrrh and the frankincense can cause more of a reaction in canine. It can give them, if they're already prone to allergies. It's not burning them; it's diffusing them, but it's still the fragrance of them. Sometimes that is the culprit rather than the smoke. So there are scents, and some of them will say sandalwood's not good for animals. But
Mm.
I've used sandalwood and I've never seen any issue. I do diffuse a lot of sandalwood. I diffuse a lot of lemon grass oil too.
And
Now,
it's not a bonfire too. Like, you know what I mean?
no,
It's not, so
no.
if it's bad for dog, I mean, I'm sure it's more like if you smoke out your dog with sand, it's never going to be good for anybody in that regard.
Well, and I'm going to also suggest to you this: smoke is smoke, right? Whether it's coming from a candle or coming from a stick of Palo Santo or a bundle of dragon's blood sage. So, or it's coming from the incense burner. Smoke is smoke. So I've had people that are like, "Well, I can't do that because that's I've got this and that," and I'm like, "Well, do you burn incense?" Well, of course I do. Of course you do. The same goes into the into the incense burner. You've got a smoke, you've got a vapor, you've got something eminent that's emanating. Is that the word for it? Coming
Mm-hmm.
from it, that is giving a response to you and giving a response to your environment. And so Yes, there's going to be things you're going to be more sensitive with. Please don't put eucalyptus. That's the big one.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to address sandalwood. I had a client, and it's really funny, and I'll tell you briefly. I had this client who wanted to clear her house, and so I talked with her, and her sister came in from out of town, and they were going to clear her 2-story house. Just, a lot of things had been going on. And so I had gotten from a dear friend of mine who'd been in India. She came back with some really, really good sandalwood oil. And it was really, really, it's not diluted, good stuff. I mean, this is the type of sandalwood oil that you count the drops when you put them in the diffuser so it keeps forever. And
Mm-hmm.
so I actually brought it over and I said, I'm going to give you a couple drops. You can put it in the water now if you want for your diffuser. Sandalwood gets rid of everything negative. I mean, it is like a drop in the bucket of energy. It's like, go get it. Put one drop in the bucket. It's like just works everywhere. Except there's one component of sandalwood that I forgot to mention, which I really did forget. I did not do this intentionally. It actually promotes a stronger connection to positive energy in the house and not just yours. So a
Mm.
few days later, her sister, who had come in to visit with her from another state, was intuitive. And that's why she had decided it was the time to have us all together, go clear the house, let's make it happen. Except she put sandalwood in her diffuser, right? Because I gave it to her. And her sister, who was kind of like a medium in training or medium surprised by, started seeing all sorts of things in her room. So she reached out to me. She goes,
Mm.
Terry, what did you do? I'm like, what are you talking about? I said, is there bad energy there? She goes, no, the energy is amazing. I said, that's good, isn't it? She goes, it is, except for one thing. There's energy everywhere. And I said, what do you
Mm.
mean? She goes, I'm seeing my relatives that I like. I'm just feeling like there's all these spirits around. Well, that's because sandalwood actually can activate a very positive flow of spirit.
Mm.
So basically, what I did is I just switched out her energies.
Right, right. There's still activity, just and it's still better than not, but better
I
good
mean,
than bad, but
no
right.
more, no more headaches, no more bad dreams, no more of that. But it's still a lot of activity,
Which
and
is probably
so
disconcerting.
we had to stop it
And how
and
did you do
set an
that?
intention. And we put some lemongrass oil in it next to clear, and we asked the spirit world to basically step away for a while, just so
Mm-hmm.
they could feel what it felt like to be, without a bunch of energy. So, even when you're a practitioner of this, sometimes you're going to make mistakes. I make my share. And so we recognize that we have to be cognizant of what we're recommending to others when it comes to things that they can use. If they're asthmatic, don't be telling them to go burn some dragon's blood or Palo Santo. Incense are the same way. Some people have a very significant reaction to incense. If you're burning them, don't be cheap. I'm going to tell you that's the thing that drives me nuts with incense. I'm going to put in my 2 cents worth here.
Do it.
If you're going to sit in a house or apartment or a facility and you're burning cheap incense, what's wrong with you? You might as well go to the city dump and wait for them to start burning trash.
Oh my
Use good
goodness.
judgment about this. You wouldn't sit
Mm-hmm.
at a trash barrel going, man, this is the best ever. Can you smell that? Oh, God, it's like tires. It's great.
Yep.
Seriously? Don't use
Yep.
cheap incense. Use something that's very good, because what they do is they put fillers in. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of those can be very dangerous. A lot of them are perfumes and things that are low quality just to get you to go, wow, I can smell that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever been around cheap incense, and I have, I've sat in front of someone who burned them all the time at one point. I was like, I'm going to kill this person. You know that they can mess with your sinuses, mess with your head. They can really hurt your energy. If you're going to use incense, spend the extra 50% and get something that's pure quality of what you're actually trying to burn. Okay.
And what are your thoughts on because I do like these, I don't own any of them, the symbols or the singing bowls, that the sound healing, the sound clearing?
They love it all. Yes. There are many things as we've talked about, and we could talk days about all this. Symbols are great. I tell people, like we talked about this last night. If you are doing symbol work, you're doing Reiki symbols, you're doing sacred geometry symbols. I said,
Oh, but I
even
meant
just
the little things like pew like
Oh, those.
Cymbal. Sorry.
Oh my God, no, I love
I
them.
have a lisp.
Oh, I love it. Well, no, cymbals, clapping,
Mhm.
anything that stirs up energy. Okay. Um, Singing, cymbals, banging a pot and pan together. Boom, the lid.
Mhm.
It's annoying as heck, but it works. I've actually
Mhm.
cleared an area where the granddaughter. I had a client who said that she felt that her granddaughter was talking to someone in this room, and her granddaughter was a little bit afraid of the room. So, and her granddaughter was, I can't remember, she was like 2.5 or 3. She was in that age. So I went and I banged on a pan with her. I brought a
Mhm.
pan into this little play area and I gave it to her and I said, with a spoon, I said, bang, 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 bang. And oh God, here we go. But clap and sing. So what we did is we dispersed energy. We
Mhm.
got rid of it. We took it, that stale energy or energy that sometimes comes after younger energies, because you remember little
Mhm.
ones can see stuff better than most.
Mhm.
Um, and we made it go. So yes, sounds. I use a bell. I ring a bell when I
Mhm.
do my healing work or energy work with people. I usually take a bell to clear them before we begin a session, because if I feel like there's something murky, I want to get rid of it. And
Mhm.
so cymbals are great, bells are great, pots and pans in a pinch work really well. They're noisy. Beating
But
on a
you did
drum
say
works.
symbols. I've seen you clear using the cross.
Yes, I do. If I'm and again, if I'm into an atheist's house or a Satanist, which so far I haven't had any Satanists ask me to
You
come
just do it
clear their
upside
house.
down. No, I'm just kidding.
I
I'm just
wouldn't know
kidding.
what to do. I only have so many outfits that are red. I don't know what to do. So, and I can't find the tail of one. So
Yeah.
anyway, so what I will say, and I do have a lot of. It's funny because my holy water. I bought a bottle of holy water and it had babies in my box because I only bought one and there's 3 of them in there now. And I don't know how it happened because I only
Whoa,
ordered one.
that's
And I looked
strange.
at it and I actually had just used one and I thought I was out. So I was scared that I was out. And I have 3 bottles in my box. And that's a little concerning, I
That's
guess.
unique, right? That's
You know,
interesting. Okay.
I took them all out and I put them on the table and I'm like, wow, they grew. They had babies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of strange. But anyway, I'm good to
The
go. It's
universe provides. I'm just kidding.
universe provides and then Amazon is off my list. So so you can buy holy water from Amazon. You buy anything from Amazon. So so if I'm using holy water, then I want to make sure that I get permission. I just did a house clearing, and I'll be honest with you, I try to do no more than one house clearing every quarter, because I would never have a life at all, right?
Mhm.
So I
They
did
are
warn
time
the people.
consuming.
They're very time consuming. An hour to drive there, 2 hours to clear minimum, and an hour to drive. That's half of a day. And if I had
Mhm.
that kind of time, I'd have lunch with my bestie, right?
Mhm.
so so it's that kind of thing. So we don't want to
Mhm.
be overextended and we don't want you to overextend us either, but we do want you to empower yourself with this. But if I'm going in and I'm using holy water, you're going to be the first person I ask, is this effective for you? If they say no, I don't know, then I don't, because I'm not going to do it just because I'm Christian. I do it
Mhm.
because it's their home. I'm going to do it for them. But if you use holy water, it's amazing because it's water and you can actually sprinkle it and it dries. Just make sure you don't sprinkle it on selenite or or wallpaper, except, things
Mhm.
obviously use good common sense. But you could actually, draw symbols in them. And I do the cross. Sometimes I do the infinity symbol.
Mhm.
I do symbols, that I'm drawn to do, that I am
Mhm.
led to do for the benefit, for the highest good of the family involved. Not highest good for Terry Groom, but for the highest evolution of the family I am helping. And so you could take a Q-tip, you could take a cotton ball, and you could use your finger. But if you're going to use something, kind of do your best to, if I'm going to take a bottle of something, I'm going to pour it in another little cup and use the little cup so that I'm not dabbling in something that I'm just spreading to, 6 different
Mhm.
houses in one bottle, right? It's kind of like spreading seeds, right? We know how easy it is to contaminate.
Mhm.
And if you
Well,
don't know what
and
I mean,
also,
mm-hmm.
oh, go ahead. Well,
No.
one time I thought this was fascinating because I watched you. We were in the room. There were 2 beds in
Mm-hmm.
it, and it was so fascinating because as you were clearing from that side out towards the door, And you said, oh, this one, talking about the kiddo, this one has very vivid dreams. You know what I mean? So it's so interesting how, like, that's still, like, that's how energy is. It stays
Right.
there, like, because you could
It
tell
does.
based on what the energy felt like. So as
Yeah.
we clear that, you're kind of giving them a chance to maybe have less active realities with their dreamscape.
Yes, exactly.
And I
And
said, does the other one? And you said, mm-mm.
mm, so what was also recommended to that family in that child's bed, over that bed, is a dream catcher to
Oh.
kind of lessen the, I remember that house, yes, to lessen the just the ability to, to have bad dreams. It's
Mm-hmm.
one thing to have dream states, obviously we all do, but no little kid, no child needs to have bad dreams. So yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we did our best to clear that as well. So the basics here, folks, again, there's a million different ways of clearing energy. Clap a lot, sing a lot, jump to clear your energy. Go into a house, use some things in your kitchen, your pantry, put them on the stove, strain them out. If it's clear liquid, you can put it in a spray bottle. I know people that put, seriously, holy water in a water gun.
Why not? Right?
And I've seen holy water in a soaker hose.
I've seen that. Man, during COVID, the baptisms, they were getting crazy.
And again, if it's something you believe in, what it is an extension of you. So
Yes.
that helps you to clear. Ward your property. If you've got a place where you can ward means protection. Usually it's east, south, north, west. It's the four corners of your property line. If you have a large property, do the property. You can even do it as a grid. If you
Mm-hmm.
have a couple of acres, go to the furthest point on each corner of the property and grid it by putting, amethyst, tourmaline, tiger's eye. You can use many different types of obsidian that help to ward off negative energies.
Onyx.
And yes, and if you're not looking for the boogeyman, think of it this way. How about trespassers? Set your intention. No one that is not permitted is allowed on this property. Therefore, I am warding for my highest good and the highest good of my property. No one that has not been invited and that is not permitted is no longer accepted on my property. It takes care of trespassers too. So ward it. You can do it. You can, if it's a big property, you can make it into a beautiful grid by warding another square in the center and another square in the center, and come all the way to the house, and then ward four corners of the outside of the house. There are people that put warding crystals inside the house. You don't have to bury them unless you want to outside of the house. If you do, keep in mind too that they'll probably be dug up by squirrels, or they may unearth somehow with rainstorms. You should activate or remove and replace, preferably every 3 months. If you have a large piece of property, it's going to help you think about why that is. Walk your property
Mm-hmm.
4
Mm-hmm.
times a year to clear. So it is a lot of work, but it's a lot of joy to have property and to have ownership. So take care of your things. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just about mowing the lawn. It's about protecting whatever comes on your lawn, to your lawn, through the earth. And that
Mm-hmm.
is warding. And warding helps you to be, again, very clear. House blessings come after. House blessings. What's a house blessing? I did a house blessing. I did a house blessing after I did a house clearing. All I did was, for this person, it was using symbols, which was basically saying this place is a protected sanctuary, and is the property of the family. And I gave the family's name. So what I did was, basically, it was sharing their sentiments with the house. They wanted the house to love them in return, and they loved the house. They provided care and maintenance and would continue to do so. And the house in return would provide, again, comfort, privacy, and safety.
Mm-hmm.
And so blessings can be done much the same as a clearing. I usually do them after. You can burn various things to clear and protect. There are many things. Go to your local metaphysical store that has types of herbs, that has an apothecary They will give you many different tools as far as the different leaves combination of leaves you can purchase that you can burn. That's considered more blessing than clearing. You can combine them. That's okay. But to do it separately, again, is based on the faith of the family and using the tools that would make sense to those that are living in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Good.
It makes perfect. And you keep talking about the importance of if you're clearing for somebody else. And, I just want to say the reason that it's so important to be in alignment with their belief systems, be in alignment with what they're comfortable with is
Yes.
you are there to jumpstart this process because you can understand it, because you have sensitivities to areas that
Right.
might need to receive higher focus. But it is there. We're passing that duty on to them.
Yes.
And we're trying, the idea is that you'd never have to go back to that home again, because not only
Right.
are you clearing, but you're also explaining to them these processes so
That's
that you
right.
don't have to come back. So
Well,
that's part of it too.
yes, it is, and that's exactly right. My job is not to spread Terry Groom's essence around their property line, because Terry's not living there. And she's not desperately not needing to be a squatter there either.
Yeah, she doesn't want to come back next week.
No. So the goal is to take involvement, take authority over your property. I just love it when I do this work, because there are people that cringe, and oftentimes I look to see who are the cringers. When you say take dominion, take authority, you can see them kind of going, because we are told by everybody, oh, that's ego. That's all ego. That's all ego. Ego is when you're telling everybody how great you are and you're living with the notion that you're better than someone. That's what ego is. Taking dominion over your property just means you're safeguarding the vessel. You're safeguarding your way. You're safeguarding your personhood. It's not
your
about
baseline
ego.
responsibility.
You bet it is. You bet it is. And so that's what we're referring to, right? It's truly about care, and it's about self-care. It's not about ego. So what else, my dear? How we doing?
We're doing good. And as we depart this topic in this episode, I do also want to just say about this. A lot of times there's a boredom around individuals in areas where there's not a lot of acknowledgement of the metaphysical world, because you're on a different, an energy could pass by and say, oh, they're on a completely different, AM frequency and we're FM, so we'll just move on. But when you do spiritual work, whether it's meditation every morning, whether it's even saying the affirmations because you understand that there's a metaphysical property to them, when you do the tarot, when you work with geodes, stones, and you have an expectation that they have power in a metaphysical fashion, you are acknowledging that world. And through that acknowledgement, it kind of does become it could be an invitational thoroughfare of, oh, not only do I acknowledge this space, well, then if there's a bored energy that's like, well, it's been a while since anyone's acknowledged me, it starts to look like this misshapen invitation. So we recognize, it does become important if you are dabbling in these things, if you are working with them, then clearing becomes all the more important. But I also wouldn't spend half of your day after you do a tarot, you play with your tarot deck to clear your house, because it's, the balance, this is temperance. Speaking of that. But
makes perfect sense.
Yay!
Oh my gosh, Sterling, I think
we have done it.
We have done it. I hope I didn't just gab away this whole time.
No, it was perfect. And you brought up something that I wanted next time with the dream. I'm very curious. I have questions about that. So next time we'll get into the dream catchers and sort of this energy that we invite when we sleep and how to deal with it on the other end of it in our waking state.
Get goosey bumps. Yes.
That'll be a fun one. That'll be good.
Be a lot of fun. So do we have any questions? Do we have any Iggyisms this time?
Honestly, it's so funny because he did have a question. We had a great conversation. He's had a really good summer, honestly. But
Good.
He had a dream, and we'll talk about the nature of those next week, because me, I'm not the person who says there's meaning in every dream. But he had a dream about Lazarus and that he was Lazarus. So I was just wondering if you tapped into that, if there was anything. I thought that was he thought it was unique. I thought it was unique. I thought it was worth mentioning.
Interesting. Oh, he is becoming better equipped of knowledge. I feel like that's all about what is he kind of taking in, what is expanding within him, accepting the role and the commitment to oneself of as far as growth. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. There's a lot of power in that feeling. A lot of responsibility too.
I
Interesting.
felt, as we talk about, I felt too that, I feel like he had a past relationship with spirituality and then it kind of went dead for a while and he's being called back to it. And so I feel like
Yes.
that's part of that, why that character in particular.
It's right. It's a heightened state of awareness and it's bringing forth the knowledge. So this is something that he has within. That's why he's so intertwined in this metaphysical journey, is
Mm-hmm.
because you're right. I agree 100%, Sterling. This is something that has in the past been familiar to him.
Mm-hmm. Well, we love that for
Woo! How
him.
cool is
We love
that?
that for him. And we did get, I mean, there was just the sweetest comment.
Oh,
And we invite your comments, we invite your questions. We'll do our best to answer
yes.
them. But it was just cute because it said, "Oh my gosh, this is," and it was a gentleman energy. I could tell. He just said, "This is the most amazing channel, and I'm so grateful for it." And I was just like, "Oh,
My gosh, thank you,
okay,
thank you, thank you. We like
yes,
you, you like us.
yes."
I love
And if
it.
you need to reach us, obviously, we link all the connections
Yes.
below. But yeah, if you have any questions, especially as we go into the next week where we're talking about dreams, let us know what you want to know,
Let
and we're going to
us
do our best to answer it.
Oh my gosh, how exciting is that? You've
It's
got
a
to
good
pay
week.
attention to the yes. We'll
I
be around next week. Good.
love you so
I
much,
love you so much.
and
Such a
we'll talk to you
wonderful
next
journey.
week.
We'll
It
be
is,
here.
and I'm grateful to be here with you.
I'm grateful to be here with you as well. Thank you, my dear.
Yas. See you next week.
Yes.